Good afternoon, everyone. Please settle in. We're going to start our session. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Donald. I will be moderating these keynote sessions. I hope you have your coffee, tea, or your pastry, and you enjoy it, the conversations. It is my pleasure to introduce our keynote speakers today, Dr. Henry Bjorkman. He is currently a Vice President of Research and Development for Immunodiagnostics in Thermo Fisher Scientific, where he leads a global team of more than 300 engineers and scientists across different regions, with over 20 years of experience leading global cross-functional teams across R&D, manufacturing, service, and operation. He brings deep expertise in innovation, transformations, and translating science into real-world impact. We are very excited to hear from him today about leading yourself. Please join me to welcome Dr. Henrik Bjorkman to the stage.
Thanks. I have my own microphone, thanks. So, good morning, everyone. So I'm Henrik Bjorkman, Vice President R&D at Thermo Fisher Scientific. And today I will be talking about leading yourself. And I call it from self-awareness to lasting leadership. And I realize that I'm in between you now and lunch, so I'll try to meet the timeline here for this talk. I have someone taking care of that. I'm known for not meeting those kind of timelines, so that's how it is, but I'll do my best. So first, just wanted to say that even though I am an employee of Thermo Fisher Scientific, and there will be a Thermo Fisher logo on the slides here, I represent myself today, and the views are solely my own and not the views of Thermo Fisher Scientific. That said, I've been appointed by Thermo to be here, so hopefully that will resonate a little bit with their views as well. So I start with talking a little bit about Thermo Fisher since I'm here. There are a couple of company slides, you have to endure that. So Thermo Fisher Scientific, we're there to help our customers make the world healthier, cleaner, and safer. That's us in a nutshell. And if we go into some of the details, and I highlight this because it relates to R&D. So Thermo Fisher Scientific, we're, if not the world's biggest, one of the world's biggest biotech companies. We're over 120,000 colleagues today, headquartered out of Boston, US. About $1.3 billion spent in R&D. We have over 7,000 scientists and engineers. So that gives you a little bit perspective of us and who we are. I represent the Immunodiagnostics division. So Immunodiagnostics is a division where we want to enable our customers around the world to get, or patients around the world to get the right diagnosis of allergic and autoimmune diseases. This is one of the few divisions in Thermo Fisher headquartered outside of the US, so we're based in Uppsala, Sweden, with our headquarters, even though we have a global reach of a few thousand people. And what we do is in vitro diagnostic tests for allergy and autoimmune diagnostic testing. In allergy diagnostics, we're considered the world leader. For in vitro diagnostic testing, we have over 700 different allergens. And in autoimmunity, we're one of the big players with over 50 different clinically relevant tests. All of those are on a common platform, so basically huge automated machines, everything from benchtop to instruments stretching the whole scene here, just sort of processing tests based out of blood serum from patients. Our customers are typically hospital labs or clinical central labs. So, who am I? So I call this a journey of reinvention, since today is about leading yourself. I've been a scientist, and from that, my career stretched to being an entrepreneur. I spent several years in small companies, moving on to bigger companies, being a global leader in I've been global leading in different geographies. I left the big company to be a CEO for a startup. And then I'm back again in the big company leading Thermo Fisher Scientific R&D for the immunodiagnostics division. In these roles, I've been forced to learn a lot about myself. I mean, I focused on curiosity, obviously, in the beginning of the career. Hopefully that hasn't stopped, even though I moved on to doing so many more things. As an entrepreneur, you had to learn fast. You had to adapt fast. In many ways, you were a person of your talents. You had to try so many different things, and I love that. I was part of the early 2000s sort of biotech boom in Sweden, where there was tons of investment money. It was so easy to start companies. And I was part of 3 of those before deciding I needed to have a change. I was, sort of, as I said, sort of a master of bringing all my different talents to the stage, moving from being in the lab, hiring people, de-investing people, to getting new labs in order, moving facilities, etc. But I haven't learned one proper trade, I felt. So I wanted to have a chance to go into a bigger company, and I went to the biggest at the time. I went to GE. Totally different setting. So there I ended up in a situation where I led a big transformative project. It was an old product line that needed to be reinvented. So did that for a number of years before being asked to move to the US. And I'll come back to that perhaps a little bit later, to do a slightly different job. And then back again to small company, but in a more senior role, where I ended up in the boardrooms, driving sort of a company progress in a more small to medium-sized companies. And then back again to Thermo Fisher, where I spent the bulk of the past 12, 15 years. A little bit of a detour to another world, which I also come back to you about. And then back again to Thermo Fisher. Personally, I'm a husband and a father. I have a wife, Anna, who is in a similar business. She's a marketing leader for not a competitor, but a company in a similar business. I have 2, what they call themselves, adult kids. They're in university. They're slightly younger than you, at least. I'm energized by football, and unfortunately, we got beaten by France in the World Cup just a few days ago. But I think there was a big celebration in Sweden anyway. We didn't expect to make it to the World Cup this year, but we did. And we made the group stages, and we lost against what I believe is going to be the winner. So you can hold me to that, yeah. My Norwegian friends will argue about that, obviously. But so otherwise, I have a house in the mountains, northern Sweden, close to Norway. It's a place where I like to go to re-energize myself. I love skiing. I love snowmobiling. I can actually start my snowmobile on my lot and go out into the wilderness, which is kind of amazing if you're a person who likes it actually cold. As I said, I hope I've kept my curiosity because I like to try new things. So going back to why I should be here, talk to you about sort of leading yourself. And I thought a lot about, so I have 2 reporting lines. I'll report to the divisional president of immunodiagnostics, and I report to the CSO of Thermo Fisher Scientific. And Karen, the CSO, she said, Henrik, you're going to go there and represent Thermo Fisher here. And why me? And then I realized that perhaps more than many of my colleagues, I tried to look at my work and private life perhaps slightly different. And it may seem I'm intentional by things, but well, let's dig into what's below the surface a little bit here. But hard facts. I built organizations from scratch. I've led through massive uncertainty in companies. I lived and worked abroad. I'm based in Sweden now. I lived in Germany. I lived a longer period in the US. I've transformed organizations, so massive shifts from where things are supposed to be done, how it's supposed to be done, and created new opportunities for team. I led experts through cultures, very different experience leading a team of scientists in Sweden versus a team of scientists in the US or in India. Takes totally different leadership style, and I learned that the hard way. And I made some, for other people at least, consider difficult career moves. Other kind of hard facts, I have about 30 years in innovation. I've been a leader for global teams for the past 20 years, with people from at least 10, I think I counted, based in up to 15 countries, based in Europe, Asia, and North America. And what I hope I am, and I feel I'm still sort of curious. I said I think I'm still learning, actually, and that just shows just preparing for this presentation a little bit. So what do I have to say? And it's interesting when you start to sort of pin things down and realize that that I haven't learned yet, and that would have been beneficial if I knew that a while ago, actually. But that's how it is. A personal story. I said I'd come back to how I ended up in the US or in GE. So this was, it's 15 years ago now. I was leading this mega project based out of Sweden, UK, India, in the life sciences business from Uppsala, Sweden then. And I was asked to go to the US. GE had acquired a company. The integration had failed. And Henrik, you need to go there to fix it. And I had 2 kids, they were 6 and 8, a wife who's absolutely not housewife material. So what do you do? I can't just go there because you get kind of these expat contracts. So super cool thing. Love to do it. We managed to actually put the kids in a local school. My wife managed to continue her job, but remotely from the US. I ended up there. So first thing I got challenged with is, why do we send a Swede to integrate an American company into the biggest of American companies? And that I wasn't prepared for that, to be honest. But then I had to sort of get going with planning. First, I made sure I got some cultural training, learned about the differences between people and how the management styles and what to expect. And also, if you're from Northern Europe, you look people in the eye. It's called the European stare, and we do it more than most. Americans hate that, it turned out. So you're supposed to look up a little bit briefer. These kind of details that creates the connection between people. The other, I also learned the hard way on the process there, is that in Sweden, you debate, and you have a team, and you come to a consensus, and then somehow it's self-organizing, and people do. In the US, you also debate, not as long. You think that everyone's sort of in agreement, nothing happens. So this was a sort of mind-blowing to me, that I had these super smart people around me. I walked into the software engineering department and said, well, what are you working on, sir? Nothing. But we had this problem statement. We knew what we wanted to do. Yeah, you didn't tell us what to do, what to get going with. And that is something that resonated with me a lot, and I bring with me to this day as well, because hybriding that with the Swedish style, also in Sweden, made leadership a lot better and more efficient in Sweden as well. So enough with the discussion. Let's get going. Come on, now we go, and then you get sort of the hybrid of the more decisiveness and quicker decision making, but also the buy-in and people getting sort of self-organized and going. So that was one of the aspects there that I really learned, and I had to learn with myself, because I'm a very egalitarian person, and that's not, as you know, you're from 40 different countries, that's not how it always is. We're different, but in Northern Europe, we're extremely egalitarian. I never use doctor in Sweden. That's just how it is. It's more international stage. The other thing I had to learn about the GE thing there and the integration of that company was that you need to plan. You need to figure out how to get things done, and you need to also think a lot about yourself. So I created in basically quick long story short, I did a project out of it. I divided it in 4 phases. First, learn phase, focused a lot, and this is perhaps one of the key success factors. Get to know the site, get to know the people, get some champions on your side. And then bring in the GE machinery, processes and everything, lead the drive. Hopefully some of those sort of champions will follow, they pick up, they learn. Stage 3, take a step back. And being someone who's used to take lead, taking a step back, it takes a little bit of a mindset shift. So I took a step back, brought some of the people forward, and now by now more had sort of joined, starting to realize what was going on, and support people while they do whatever needs to be done. And then the 4th stage, because I realized I'm going to leave, and they didn't want me to leave. I really liked it there. I still have friends there. But I was going to leave, so they need to be able to do whatever they need to do without me. So I took another step back and basically said, you go ahead, I'm here, and support. So that for me, this was a massive story of change to myself. Taking the leap with a family over to the US, para-drop in a local school. There was one Mexican family and us, that was it. The others were local. And get going. So my message to you on that is, and I have to say that I remember all of the struggles, but I remember them fondly because this is one of the most memorable things of my life. It was not the easiest, I have to say, but the most memorable things aren't the easiest ones. So think about that. So now I'm actually coming to the start of the talk. Timekeeper, so we're a bit stressed here on time. But leading yourself, so I felt like I need to do something. I need to divide that into something, build it on something. So I created 5 different pillars. So leading yourself, basically, why do you need to understand something about leading yourself? And I say before going into the pillars, I say, if you don't know how to lead yourself, if you don't know who you are and how you react and what motivates you, I think you're going to struggle to be a really good leader. So I think this is a foundation for you to grow as a leader, as a colleague. So in that sense, I think I just advise you to think that leading yourself, it might be seen as something extracurricular, but it's a job. If you are a leader, to lead yourself, it takes a lot of job to work to do this, and it takes a lot of effort. Perhaps it is the job, because when you master yourself in a good way, you understand your triggers, you understand how to do things, and what's in the way, or so you're going to be so much more effective with your colleagues. So 5 pillars. Know yourself, understand what's below. Who am I? Challenge yourself, take some dare to do things, what I just described. Take an opportunity if it comes, don't hesitate. Focus, basically what deserves my attention. Renew yourself, how to sustain your energy. Can't work all the time. Anchor yourself, so what's your non-compromisables. So, know yourself. I think what the difficult thing here is to dig a little bit deeper. So there are things that are visible for yourself easily that people see, but there are things that you may not fully reflect on what it means. And here I did this metaphor of an iceberg. So basically, you have what's above the surface, the visible things, but it's a lot beneath. All of you have a lot beneath. I have a lot beneath. I think I know more of what I have beneath now than I used to, but I don't know everything yet, and I still still get frustrated with myself for not understanding why I react in certain ways, etc., when things happen. But I think it's good to really understand that there are things below the surface, and these are perhaps sometimes strengths that you haven't utilized, but it can often also be blind spots. It could be something that emotionally gets you going, but it could also be something that you just sort of, these are my values, right? This is who I am. This is what I stand for, and good to know. I'll come to that a little bit later as well. So something for you guys to reflect upon while I talk here. So what energizes you? What gets you going? So think a little bit deeper here. What depletes you? And under pressure, who do you become? So, and talking about that, sort of under pressure, things that may be positive characteristics. You're decisive. You can become impatient. You're an analytical person. Yeah, under pressure you may become an overthinker. You're confident, but overconfidence is not appealing either. Collaborative, fantastic, right? But if it means avoiding to make tough decisions, it's not necessarily just a good thing. Ambition, and this reflects a little bit on the renew yourself section also. Inability to disconnect, you're on all the time. And detail-oriented can turn into micromanagement, especially, I mean, now looking at you who are at a different stage of a leadership career. Think about this. So I just did a little bit of a path here. So it's really good to know who you are. You have your strengths, your values, your drivers, your blind spots. But then I think it could be worth also thinking about, notice how you react. What's your emotions, stress signals, reactions, habits to stressful situations or when things get going, right? And here, a lot of people, they come here. They think about this, and they don't move to the next step, basically thinking about, what do I do about it? How can I get to a situation where these situations are not as bad? What do I learn? Sometimes it's just taking a leap, trying. Sometimes it's finding your strategy. One of my strategies is I'm impatient, they say, and I know I am. So that's nothing new. And sometimes that's a good thing, but it's not always. So a simple trick for me has been, I have a sticker on my computer screen. It says, ask a question first. Because I can't wait for us to sort of sort out what's going on before I come with a solution. And just having it there, not always helps me, but it most often actually helps me to just take a breath and listen. What's going on, what the other person have to say, or if not, just think a little bit before I answer. So that's one of my blind spots that I'm trying to address. Challenge yourself. It's the next role next pillar I was intending to talk about. And challenge yourself means trying things that are not perhaps comfortable. And I gave you an example in the beginning. So just taking that leap, going from sort of homely, cozy Sweden to be a complete stranger under pressure in the US with family and everything, trying to get everything in order. It was very short time perspective as well, from initiation to actually moving over. It takes a leap. You only do that if you have some courage, actually. So I can encourage you to with that courage. I mean, take on these bigger roles if you have an opportunity. If not, at least know why you're not. So don't not do it because it feels uncomfortable. Then at least try to figure out why it's uncomfortable. What I do now, public speaking, I'm not a public speaker. Took me a while before feeling comfortable in these situations. I'm still not entirely comfortable. I do it a lot, especially since I have a global organization. I have these local town halls, global town halls. It's a lot of public speaking. But I work on it. That's just how it is. Difficult conversations. Everyone in a manager role will have difficult conversations. If not, you're avoiding it. Because either you have people here not performing that you need to talk to, not getting what they want, or you need to do cuts, you don't have budget. There are always opportunity for difficult conversations. And the only way to be good at that is to practice. It's never, ever comfortable. If it's comfortable, think a little bit why it's comfortable. Just saying. So, practical framework, comfort, I know how to do something. Learn, I don't know how to do it. But continue and trying means that you will eventually at least get used to it, or even better, master it. So, take that with you. Don't try. And due to time, I'll actually skip a couple of slides and go to an area which I think is difficult. Focus yourself, I call this. So basically, you see the slide here. There's a lot of opportunities to light a bulb and then make a difference, but attention is a choice. Being busy and reacting is something it's easy to become, especially in a leader when you move roles. It's easy to carry with you a lot of what you did before. But prioritizing is a must. And this, I wish someone told me 20 years ago. Because it took me a while to realize that I need to make these uncomfortable decisions. I need to say no to people who want my attention. When I moved from scientist to manager, it was a lot about sort of not interfering with the daily work in the lab. I had other experts there now. I was supposed to do something different. Even though I could do it, I shouldn't, not at least as often as I did. Even when I went the next step, from manager to R&D director, I pride myself with having my door always open. That is super appreciated by the teams, but it's extremely distractfful if you need to focus on what you need to do. So also in that perspective, don't always do it sometimes. Make sure it's visible, but you need to be able to shut off from the teams. In the role I'm now, it's extremely important to prioritize. It's so many different things that could bog me down, either from my own organization, from peers, from other parts of the organization. They want my attention, and if you're not already there, you will be there. And you need to say no. You need to focus. And the difficult thing here is to say no in a nice way, in a way that's actually not making things worse. But here, I think for me, this is one of the most difficult aspects of my leadership, is to not just bring with me all of the things from before. So before going into some sort of practical habits that I'm trying to follow now, what I've done is to make sure I have a leadership team that are empowered, they're trusted, they know the bigger picture. I sometimes accused of oversharing, but that is just this reason, to make sure that they understand what's going on, so they can sort of pick up the baton and move on and drive certain things. But this is an area where I think that probably many of you will struggle, and I've struggled, and that's why I emphasize on this. Start doing this early. Move on. Let go. Otherwise, you will not grow as a leader. Many of my peers, they have the same difficulty. And if you want to be what I am today, then a vice president, you can't act as a director every day, because then you're not taking on the time to actually focus on the strategic level thinking, or the higher level changes, the transformations that you need to do. You don't get there. Are we establishing a software center in India? Yes, no, which has been one of my recent. And if you're just in the daily sort of, no, I can't because it takes, I need another software engineer. It takes too much time to get someone up and going somewhere else. Then you get stuck. So create your space to think. Choose what to do. Don't just react. This is sort of, it's no nonsense, but I think it's worth reading this. Say no more often. And perhaps a corny thing, but just hold yourself accountable by asking yourself, have I lived with this? So did I spend my time the right way? Being busy is not what we're talking about here. It's doing the right things. So sustainability, I call it the balance. I choose not to call it work-life balance because I think it's more like work and life. I need to coexist. But you know, when you're busy, you drive things. It feels like you're on a constant sprint. But my career will span over 40 years or so. I can't be on a constant sprint. If you take it down to organizations and projects or whatever, especially in R&D, they last over years sometimes. You can't be in a constant sprint. It can't be critical to run faster every single day. You need to be able to be sustainable, or you will not make it. That's just how it is. And this is perhaps an area where Karen, sort of my CSO boss, thinks I actually do pretty well, even though she gets annoyed with me sometimes. So here I've chosen to really think about what's important for me. And I said that on one of the early slides. So I'm a family man. I love actually having a private life. If I'm successful at work, means nothing unless I also feel like I have something else. So as a family man, for years I drove up to the mountains with my daughter, who used to be an alpine race skier. Every weekend, Thursday night, tried to work remotely on Fridays. And until she got the second ACL injury, that was like 6 years in a row. I prioritized that over always being available. The other thing I did was to, you know, when you're involved in a lot of things, and I think that this could resonate with many of you as well, you hear the very recognizable sound of a new email on your phone. And for me, sometimes that causes stress. So what I decided many years ago, actually, I need to separate work and private life to some extent. And obviously, in the role I'm now, you can't 100% do that. I try to anyway. So I have 2 different phones. I never, ever have my work phone by the bed. So I never check work emails after I decided I go to bed. I'm still sort of a phoneaholic, so I want the private, at least, to check whatever. So that's the other option. But it's actually quite nice to actually not having 2 separate lives. So we had this really big review in Thermo Fisher, and I didn't say that, but in my organization, currently the biggest project in Thermo Fisher is run, which means a lot of attention. So monthly reviews with Mark Casper, the CEO, and we had one of those most critical reviews because we had issues around budget, etc. And we all sent in the presentation the day before. I sent in my presentation, pressed send, left the phone, went to a concert in Stockholm. Fantastic concert, by the way. It was Billie Eilish. Lots of young women screaming, but I loved it. And I got back that night, just picked up the phone and I had so many unanswered calls, and there was email stress. Henrik, where are you, etc. I was on a concert. I couldn't talk to you. Yeah, but sorry, I was on a concert. So this I think brings you down a little bit to who you are, to be sustainable, what it means to you. This was not my sort of biggest career move, but in that particular day. But for me, it's important that I have my boundaries as a private person as well, even though I'm an executive of Thermo Fisher. So doing something like that was super important to me, to be able, probably that day I would have chosen not to, but it says something about sort of being deliberate about actually not working. And talking about that, so it is easy to believe that the best leaders, they work all the time, and you see these kind of LinkedIn posts, starting with your yoga at 4:30, being at work at 5, etc. And for some, that's fantastic, and I say continue, but don't take that necessarily as the North Star for how to live your lives. I'm not sure it's going to be the best career path for everyone to do that. For me, it has not. I need my rest. I need to focus on things that I think brings the best out of me in the long run. Because saying no today may in a way be saying yes for tomorrow. Because if you say yes all the time, you will be, I'd say you will end up in like a kind of famine, energy famine, right? And also going back to what I talked to earlier, I think it's important to say no. If you don't have the energy or whatever, right? And by the way, I learned so much not working as well. So it's not just necessarily for fun, but it's finding that balance. The last part of my presentation is leadership under pressure. And as it is an ethical fireside chat, right, coming after I felt like I'm not going to go into depth about this one, but I wanted to highlight a few things, not the least for you to get to know me. Now we talked about sort of knowing yourself, challenge yourself, focus yourself, renew yourself, and anchor yourself, I think, is important as well. You need to, for yourself, know what's your red line. What are you not going to do if you're asked to? There are so many different aspects that this will come in play. And being in R&D, I think, in the leadership team I'm in, I represent the future, the long term, the strategy, more than anyone else. There are so many others in a divisional leadership team in a publicly traded company that only focus on the monthly report, best quarterly report. So we're getting saluted for saving to meet the quarterly result all the time. So that's basically the only time I get sort of an applause in these meetings, and when I did not spend. But not spending in R&D means that you're not delivering tomorrow. So make sure that you find your balance there. And there's going to be tough discussions on this. It's going to be tough discussions on this, when it actually jeopardizes the future of the company. In a project, it could be, something is going south. You're going to overspend, or a timeline doesn't meet the desired timeline, or there are other things in the way. And here, of course, it's a fine balance of just over-communicating and coming with a problem before you have a solution. But don't wait until it's too late either. It's never, ever pleasant, and you will all be in that situation if you haven't, that there is a timeline issue, there is a budget issue, the technology doesn't work as planned. Oh, by the way, we forgot to include software in the submission of a new assay, which nowadays means that you can't submit it because there's a cybersecurity demand in the US. So 2 years later, last week, submission. Not fun. So, of course, otherwise, there are ethical boundaries as well, legal boundaries. But mainly, I think for this leading yourself is about setting your own boundaries. So to finish off, hopefully you now have understood what I mean with leading yourself and why it's important. If you want to be a good leader and become the best possible version of yourself, I think you need to be a little bit deliberate. Doesn't mean you create a plan or write it down. And I think you need courage. need the courage to actually get to know yourself a little bit better, challenge yourself even more, dare to focus, take a step back, and to set your boundaries. And with that, I'm done.
Thank you very much. Yep, to keep it in time. Yeah, now we have a Q&A sessions. There will be 2 mic runners. Please raise your hand and then let them see you. Do you want me to pick the participants or?
You with the microphone, you pick.
Hello, thank you so much for your fantastic talk. I'm really interested in your experience working with multicultural teams and the challenges that come with it, because I had a similar experience, but in academic labs. So when we work with different, in different countries or with multicultural teams, we need to adapt to the people, right? But where the balance comes, because sometimes adapting too much may feel like also losing our own identity, right? So how have you found that balance, and how do you navigate this type of multicultural environments? And my second question is, I admire your squiggly career path, because you explore like different roles and positions, and that is really interesting. Do you have any advice for people who want to follow a similar path that is not traditional? So thank you.
So what was the first question again? It was finding the cultural balance. And so I do think about that a lot, to be honest. And being in Thermo Fisher, where we have values, etc., right, that basically forces you to be mindful. But that doesn't give you the solution. That just sort of sets the boundaries for what you cannot do. In my leadership team, and especially in my extended leadership team, we worked a lot of that. We call it one R&D. It's very simple, because we've had everyone sort of, be it Finland, Germany, Japan, Sweden, and then the recent addition, India. There are so different reasons why we do, what we're strong at, and we shouldn't kid ourselves. We've added a big sort of, we say that we have this massive project in India with, and yes, we get the center of excellence with lots of expertise, but we do it for cost. And that's extremely uncomfortable for Swedes to talk about, sort of sitting there, not me now, but for the people in that group. So initially we overemphasized on the alignment, and I think that's easy to do. You go the extremes, and we went the extreme of over-alignment, over-inclusion. And it took us to some kind of lever. I focused a lot of sort of explaining, bringing people in with emphasizing on people's sort of organizational strengths, etc. But at the end of the day, it only took us so far. So we're actually reverting a bit to more regional as well, because I felt like most of my organization, almost 50%, is Sweden-based, that we didn't get the best out of them in this environment. So we actually have a local and a global team for this. And unfortunately for the local, that means that they're mainly part of the other local, at least the smaller hubs, they're less involved. But you need to talk to everyone, you need to explain why. I think my lesson is communication. The second question was? Yeah, I mean, if you dig deep into my CV, you see that it's very diverse. I've been in different industries and different roles in the industry, different functions. But there are a few things that are commonalities in this one as well. So you can find some commonalities. For me, it's been about transformation. It's been about the leadership, the people. And that's not so different, to be honest. The other is, I mean, I feel weak sometimes. Not that confident, stepping into a room, especially when I started at EV battery company with the Volvo cars in Norfolk. I have a material scientist background, but I know nothing about batteries or cars. So I love driving a car, but that's not the Volvo. But so had nothing. Going back to this morning session there, so make sure that you have the tenure enough in your speciality or scientific. I perhaps did that a little bit too short. So I focused on other things instead. So basically, I've become a people person instead. So that's my profession. You can look at it like that, I think. And then the other is just there. Don't bring your previous job with you.
Okay, thank you. Maybe we can have one more questions on the left side.
Please just the name, country, and one question to give the possibility to many, participants as possible.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for the talk, and I'm increasingly convinced now that people who say are not best at public speaking have the best content and quality there. You mentioned having had to do difficult decisions, career decisions, and a lot of us here have had or will have definitely to do that along the way. Looking back, did it matter? Did it matter making the right career decision at that time, or you'd have been where you are regardless because you had those qualities in you? And do you have any general advice, like don't overthink it, just transform yourselves, whatever that could fit in any single stage?
I think you're partially correct there in your question, actually, because I didn't give my full speech because that would have been 2 hours. One of this, when it comes to challenge yourself, is that a quality I have is I'm brave, and I realize that I've been brave all my life, not for doing kind of stupid. I don't parachute. I don't like not that kind of brave, but I'm brave, and probably because I'm self-secure enough or something. So maybe it's easier for me to do these things than the average person, but that doesn't mean it's easy. So I think you need sometimes just to take a leap of faith. And if you want to become a leader, a real leader, staying in your expertise area is not the solution. It is for some, but not for the majority. So you have to choose your way there. You want to be a leader because of your expertise or a leader because of something else. And I think I chose the other path quite early. And yes, it's not a lot of elaborate career thinking, it's a lot of been more opportunistic. But you will all be exposed to opportunistic opportunities, and it's about deciding what to do with it. The only career decision I did was the GE moving there. That was a pure career decision. I need to learn how to work.
Okay, thank you. Maybe we take one last question from the middle. Yep, that lady, please. Yeah, just keep it short, please.
Okay. Hi, I'm Emily. Thank you for a very honest talk. My question was building on your answers to the last two, which was when you're faced with something that you don't know, how do you go about finding the answer while still maintaining that kind of credibility and confidence in your leadership, especially as you're kind of changing roles and that type of thing? Thank you.
I don't. I'm actually going in the other direction, being extremely humble. So I try to basically open up and say, I don't know this, can you help me, please? Obviously, I try to do that with people I trust. But that's also being brave, I think. It's about the courage to actually dare to show that you don't know everything. And I sort of alluded to that, saying that I kind of sometimes don't feel I have the scientific depth in everything I do, because I moved on to so many different things. I have other traits, I hope. So I learned to live with it a bit, not always having the answers. But think about it, throwing it back. Isn't it sometimes also a good way not to always have the answers? Is the manager's role or the leader's role always the one with the answers, or is it the one that can guide? So I think it's strengthened my leadership profile to some extent, to not always have the answer, and also my personality of just answering. I think it humbles me a bit. It's good.
Okay, thank you very much.
And just a final note from my side then. So I will be here today and tomorrow. I will join in the afternoon. I will join dinner tomorrow. So looking forward to connect with as many as possible of you.
Yep, thank you. On behalf of the team, I would like to present a small token of appreciation to Dr. Henrik. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, with that, we conclude these sessions. And then I just want to make a short announcement about lunch. I guess everyone cares about it. So the lunch will be at the same locations where you have your coffee break. And then for those that you have specific allergens that you want to avoid, please scan the QR code so that you know what is inside the food. The next sessions will be starting in 2 p.m., but please come back a little bit earlier at 1:50 or 1:55 so that we can start on time. Thank you very much.